think it is about time that conservatives do a little bit of reflection and take stock of how we are going about supporting the Orange Man. I'm supporting the Orange Man. I want to put that out there before you guys freak out and hear me say a few critical things about the way people are supporting the Orange Man. You should know that that's the way I intend to vote. I'm not trying to influence anybody else into voting for him, but I am going to try to influence you into not acting like the guy is God. So, here we go. There is a distinct uptick in this overconfidence in the last, I'd say, 3 to 6 months that's been going on, where people want to deify the Orange Man. They want to act like that it's a God-ordained thing that he's going to be reelected. And they even want to, like, since the shootings have happened, they want to put him in memes with Jesus and angelic figures. And there's even a really particularly disgusting one with Jesus with a bandage on his ear. That, as if, you know, Jesus and Trump are somewhat alike because Trump got shot in the ear. I think that hugely underplays the sacrifice of Jesus. And this isn't to drone on a whole lot and push Christianity. While I am a Christian, I just want to say that we, and the left keeps saying this, and there's a little bit of truth in it, that Republicans, especially the fanatical ones, the ones that are, you know, they got the Trump hat on every day and a shirt, and then they got the flag, and then they're like blaring some like really corny rock music, and they got a Thin Blue Line sticker on their Jeep and that type of thing. Those guys, it's crazy the amount that they want to deify Donald Trump as if he is sent by God, as if it is absolutely a thing. It's guaranteed he's going to get reelected. And we saw how that worked out last time. I have friends that I was talking to, because I stayed up late to watch the last, Biden v. Trump in 2020. And it turned out to be a giant crapshoot, as we have all found out. But my friends were counting their chickens before they hatched. I had friends be like, oh, he's got it. I'm going to bed, and it's just going to wake up in the morning, and it's going to be America and apple pie and baseball and bald eagles, and we're going to keep soaring into the stratosphere of how great America is going to be. And that is not what happened. We've all found that out. That is not anywhere close to what happened. I fear that the same thing is going to happen if people don't wake up. We've got to take a degree of seriousness with this and realize that Donald Trump isn't some godlike figure or even remotely comparable to Jesus Christ. It's one of those issues where, like, if we don't wake up and quit being weird about it to some degree, because it really has gotten to a weird thing where, like, we act like we're not going to have to hold his feet to the fire. The guy pushed red flag laws the last time he got elected. The only reason that he didn't continue with that is because there was a whole bunch of backlash from gun owners, myself included. And we've got to remember that he made terrible decisions as far as people to put in his cabinet. It's just a fact, okay? So along those lines, we're going to have to really understand that he's just a man. We can't expect him to have all the answers. In fact, he was a former Democrat. He's had terrible answers. He's more often wrong and bloviating than he is actually conservative from the inside. Does that make sense? Like he's more about being popular than he is about actually being conservative. He still pushes the, how should I say this? The secret sauce that was free in every parking lot around the nation. He still pushes that and says that it was a positive thing. If he's still doing that, he hasn't understood that 95% of his voters think that that's really, really stupid and probably unhealthy, to put it mildly. So ultimately, we will have to hold his feet to the fire. We will have to watch his policies like a hawk, because the guy is not just a plug-and-play conservative dream team, and he's not going to have a completely conservative cabinet or probably make any better decisions this time. Half of his cabinet were swamp creatures. The other half of Republicans fought him the entire way. I don't know what people are missing, but we've got to get in gear and understand that this isn't some, we voted and then we go back to sleep and the country just kind of drifts further and further down the crapper, because that's what's happening. And that is what happened under him the last time. But any bit of criticism gets called out with social enforcement just like the left. And I have a perfect example of this. I remember calling out the red flag laws, and there was a gun shop in Joplin that I was on their page, Joplin, Missouri. There was a gun shop up there, and I'm going to refrain from saying the guy's name because he's probably an all right dude, but he used his name for the gun shop. And I called out the red flag laws, and I got very detailed about how they needed to hold Trump's feet to the fire, how conservatives are going to have to push back. And I literally got banned from this page. Supposed Second Amendment advocates shut a guy up for telling them that the orange man wasn't so friendly to their rights. If you can't handle any criticism about the guy that you're voting for from people in your own camp and taking stock, then you're probably in a cult. And I hate to use that word, but it is cult-like favor and cult-like fervor that drives a person to become personally offended because you have made a criticism of this politician that they have put into power or are wanting to put into power. So, we're going to discuss a short list of these memes. The meme with Jesus Christ on it, looking up as if it's like post-crucifixion, and he's got the ear bandage on, and because Donald Trump got an ear piercing in Pennsylvania. If you are seriously pushing that garbage, or the t-shirt that has Jesus, like the classic depiction of Jesus with a Trump hat on, you are essentially merchandising the Lord, or using the Lord's name to push a candidate that isn't anywhere close to deity, is a completely and totally, utterly imperfect human being just like you and me. And I think that it's a good idea to step back and to, if you're putting angels in memes with the orange man, or putting him around the archangels and gold statues and things like that, like you're seeing right now in the margins of this video, you really need to take stock about how much you're identifying this man with a deity. Now, you may not have sit around and thought, oh, Trump is God. But you are idolizing a person. It is deifying an idol worship in the sense that you are putting these guys even in the same frame. Now, if you want to say that God has a hand in elections, I think that pans out biblically. But that doesn't mean that this figure is anywhere close to the suffering of Jesus Christ, to where you put a bandage patch on the ear of Jesus Christ to say, oh, look at how much he suffered. Trump is so downtrodden, just like the Lord. And people even put verses like on a billboard trying to identify him with God and acting like it makes sense. It doesn't make any sense. If you're doing any of that, you should take stock in how you view this guy. This guy's going to let you down just like every other human being on planet Earth. That doesn't mean that you don't vote for him, but you need to realize where you're putting your faith at. Putting faith in this guy that you're going to have to hold his feet to the fire to get even 30% of what you want as a conservative. That's the best you're going to get out of the orange man, okay? So you need to quit identifying him with something that you are staking your eternal future on. It's just bizarre that we would even have to go down this road to talk about it. So I'd encourage you, quit identifying the orange man with God. Quit putting Jesus at the Oval Office, standing over him at the desk. Quit putting Jesus walking behind him to Air Force One. Quit with the ear patch. That's the most offensive one to me, is Jesus with the ear patch from the ear piercing. It actually makes me pretty angry. And it's just dumb. So if we could go ahead and not do that, that would probably bring the weirdness factor down a whole lot. With that said, here are a few thoughts from my friend Modern Frontierman.
This Donald Trump idolatry is something that I have been commenting on and fighting against since the beginning of his presidency. So for like 8 years, I've heard these crazy statements from people all over the place. People I work with out in town, just random strangers will pass by, basically asking if I've heard the good news about Donald Trump in so many words. And it's really disturbing. As a matter of fact, I find it quite disgusting, and it like Chris said, it makes me angry. It almost brings me to a what one could consider like a righteous anger, if you will. But it's ridiculous. And a lot of people say that that they're not worshiping Donald Trump. I hear people say all the time, Donald Trump's the only thing that can save this nation. Our only hope is Donald Trump. And if you say anything, on the contrary, or if you have anything critical to say of Donald Trump, you're treated as if, this is blasphemy. So people say, well, we're not worshiping him. Well, what is worship? Well, one of the definitions of worship is the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration, as in for a deity. People do express a lot of feelings of reverence and adoration as for Donald Trump as if it's God. There are the memes, as Chris shared some of them, and I have this one here where Donald Trump's descending from heaven. I've seen one where he's holding God's hand, walking downstairs from heaven, and people are basically calling him a Messiah and treating him as if he is such. And like I said, if you say anything on the contrary, you are guilty of a blasphemy of sorts. So the second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any engraven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. Well, people aren't doing that, are they? Well, yeah, literally and, sort of metaphorically as well. People do bow down to Donald Trump, and there are statues of Donald Trump. And what's weird to me is even after the presidency and everything, for all this time, we have these Donald Trump merchandise stands all over the place. And this is in the Bible Belt. People who claim to be, all about God and God is first in their life. But these same people seem to place Donald Trump above all things. And it's very disturbing. I mean, there's this Indian man who is actually worshiping Donald Trump, who has made a statue and is actually praying to him. This phenomenon is just weird. And it's disgusting. Some people say, well, we don't worship him as a god. We're not looking at Donald Trump as a god. He's just a great man. Well, one of the definitions of a god is a superhuman being or spirit worshipped as having power over nature or human fortunes, a deity. There are people out there looking at Donald Trump in this exact way, as if he has some sort of superhuman powers over nature and human fortune, that he will save us all. He is the only hope for this country. And if he was this, would he not be perfect? Because he's definitely not perfect. When he was asked about asking for forgiveness, and he said, I try not to make mistakes where I have to ask for forgiveness. And then he said, why do I have to repent or ask for forgiveness if I'm not making mistakes? I work hard and I'm an honorable person. That is a direct quote from Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not believe he has to ask for forgiveness from God. So he kind of further fuels this idea. To be honest, I think he likes people looking at him like that, because he really loves that people adoring him and worshiping him the way that they do. But that's besides the point. Like, if you want to vote for Donald Trump, vote for Donald Trump. I'm not saying don't. Just like Chris said, vote for him, but don't act like he's God or like he's a deity or he's a Messiah, because he isn't. The plain and simple truth is, if you look at things like this and you look at Donald Trump in this way, you are guilty of idol worship. That's just the fact. And that's not me saying that. That's coming from God. Whether you're Jewish, Christian, or Muslim. If you're Muslim, this is shirk. This is the same as idol worship. The Bible is clear on it. I would encourage you to back up a little bit and realize that Donald Trump is not a perfect man. He is not the most moral man that's ever existed. That's for sure. But I mean, of course, nobody can make the argument that things were not better under Donald Trump. That's not the point here. The point is Donald Trump is not God. Donald Trump is not the Messiah, and he shouldn't be worshipped.
Ultimately, I did not want this video to come across as too much chastisement or even anger. I know that I mentioned that some of these memes do make me angry. That doesn't mean that I have to have an outward attitude of anger about it. But I just wanted people to reflect on their fervor and some of their words and actions regarding just support for the Orange Man. We can support somebody without worshiping him. We can support somebody without even liking him. So, let's bring the level down. Let's be sane about this. And let's be able to meet people on a normal plane without being fanatics. So with that, I would encourage you to check out Modern Frontierman, who was my guest on this video, and go support him, check him out. And if you like this channel, to like the video, share it if you think the message makes sense, and subscribe if you would. I appreciate you all watching, and let's go out there and be sane, yet still freedom and liberty minded.
Just the AK in my hand, forged in heat in foreign land.